Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's get back to part 2 of my Pokemon DVD animation videos. Pick up right where we left off with the other characters I was basically going to mention. Today, I am Risambiguation Reviews. Welcome back. Okay, so let's basically get started with the other pieces of the characters based on the comic book and the cartoon itself. Let's just start off about Gary Oak. Now, Gary Oak, people think that, oh, he's so special, he's so, well, cool and hip and awesome and so, well, passionate, basically trying to take his Pokemon serious. Like, it's like, he got a bunch of cheerleaders who has no convincing at all. He doesn't take his life seriously. I mean, yeah, there have been some elements in the course of basically the series when he's trying to be more understandable and be more thorough. But still, he's still being so damn cocky and so arrogant because, I mean, he's almost kind of like opposite of Ash, but if you look at Ash, he takes his life very personal. And, like, the reason why I'm saying that, and the reason why I'm just a, sucker basically seeing, Ash be able to be competent basically what he does, is because he's always basically thinking to make his life more and more easier. Because Gary makes his life so easy, he thinks that he could basically take any kind of Pokemon and would go from this way. But here's the thing about you should probably learn about yourself, Gary. And there are probably fans out there who don't take me seriously, but do you really think that Gary can basically be any kind of Pokemon? I mean, do you ever think if he ever considered himself to say, hey, this is something you have to really just be more serious about? I mean, like, you got your ass beat once because of that freaking trainer who has Mewtwo that just beat your ass so quick. And then you went to the competition championship and you lost at that and you're not worried about versus that. I mean, come on. It's like he got beaten 3 times. One basically from the unknown trainer. One basically he was in the Pokemon championships, and then he went back to the championships in the JoJo Journey, in the JoJo Legion. I mean, so you got your ass beat 3 times, and you can't even take your life very well. I mean, look at Ash. He's been basically battling every single trainer, and even basically, his own group of friends, knowing that he's doing this because he's showing the people, including showing Gary, that, you know what, you should probably be more thorough and be more understandable and be more committed. Not by basically having the so-called girls cheer you on. I mean, yeah, you could probably have a lot of support, but once you basically start competing with somebody and you don't have nobody who's competing with you, you're going to have to learn how to compete for yourself. You have to really focus, you have to be focused and really be more. And that being said, it's just a cartoon. You probably think, well, Eric, it's just a cartoon. It's just a cartoon, you just think that you say that because you just say that because it's a cartoon. I mean, yeah, it is, but just think about it. If this was the real world, if we have people like Gary, like if we have a certain person who is like Gary, not taken more seriously, then the world would probably be a whole bunch of apocalypse now. I mean, there's no complaints about really what Gary does. I mean, I don't got a problem for what he is basically trying to do. I know he basically say himself he's going to basically compete Ash and show him how it basically is, but look at Ash. Look at how he's basically going on these journeys. All because the character is more focused on basically, the main character is more convincing than the other branch of the characters. I mean, yeah, for Richard, Misty, and Brock, they have their own story, they have their own background to become more better trainers. But Ash was this like the one of the characters that really focused on so much because he's more really better and far more. I wouldn't say better, Richard, not like better, but like better understanding of basically how to be as a trainer and becoming as a master that he become, because he's been basically going on to these great to suffer challenges, great to suffer places that he's never been before, and he's basically showing Gary, this is how I live my own world, this is how I live my own path, and you should live your own path as well, Gary. Because based on the movie itself, he explains that he wants to stop the fights between the other Pokemon and the clone Pokemon that what I want to say Mewtwo, to show him you have to be more thorough. You have to be more serious about it. It doesn't matter if you're a clone or not. You're still just basically just a living organism system that really based on your life and choosing your own. Now that being said, that comes from me. And a lot of people, you're probably going to write, I know a lot of people's going to write that comment and say, well, Eric, it's a cartoon. It never based on the reality. It never based on trying to set this up. Well, yes, it doesn't really based on reality or based on real life. I understand that. But to give it what is factual about what he's saying, it's not always about really seeing the character itself. I think there are some fans out there who are convinced themselves knowing that this series is just running because the controversies, the franchise, and it is. It's always been that way, Richard, to what the series, to what the franchise was. But it's the fans' reaction. It's the fans want to see more. They want to see more. I know the decent type of Pokemon fans out there who continue watching the series and actually really understand about the plots. Now, that being said, as me, as a nice kid, watching the Kino, Orange Island, and the JoJo Journey in the mid-90s and 2000s, is because I want to understand how far can Ash can go. If he can really, be more serious. Because in basically some of the episodes, he wasn't taking his Pokemon skills to a different level. But when he got more serious, he's still acting like he's still ignorant, but he still learns of his experience. He still learns how to try to be more understandable and be more convincing of what it is. Because, you don't say like, okay, all right, this is something he's basically doing. He's basically doing it because he loves doing what he does. But if you look at Gary, back when I was telling you before, Gary has always been about just taking the easy steps. I mean, he's not actually going on these journeys along with Ash. He's not like looking at Ash thinking that he's actually meet the legendary Pokemon. I mean, that's the bottom line, that he and Gary are both in different paths. They're both are in different ways of Pokemon and different type of ways to try to train. But that being said, he has very well good strong Pokemon. I will give him that credit. I will give him from what he is basically, showing Ash, which is this is how you should train your Pokemon. But in some ways, Ash just didn't care. He just doesn't care about what his Pokemon is strong or not. He just wants to face in the battle. And I mean, it's like, okay, when you're playing a video game, when you play the game, you're playing your way. You're actually just trying to have your Pokemon a lot more stronger and try to be more competitive with other Pokemon. But that being said, it's just a game itself. With a cartoon, it's a cartoon. It's always been about that way. It's all about being about how the combination is based on the cartoon. Now, moving right on for the other characters, like for Professor Oak, who is a great Pokemon scientist who knows his Pokemon very well, but there are elements of basically new Pokemon have never been discovered. Now, I have been watching Pokemon since lately, when I basically got back to watching it, when it was still being on the air, and still making a lot more money. Well, the kinds of merchandise and stuff. But there's a whole new generation of Pokemon. First, we have very well 150 Pokemon. Next, it was like 151. It was based on that time recently. Now, a lot of people really think that why can't Mew be the first 150 instead of just Mewtwo? Well, there probably be some connection. There probably be some bad choices from the creator and from the company trying to be so confused and so kind of make a little simple mistake. But I don't know. I don't know how Japan's really works. They just make weird, propositive shows for us to watch, and we just have no consideration for what they do. But that being said, that's really not kind of what that is. But I will explain that originally in another video, originally, hopefully. But when I think about originally about the other characters, especially with Ash's mother, Mrs. Ketchum, there's really not much characters about her, but there have been some elements about her, her past, doing how she become as a young, conservative, girl trying to be more as a sweet, loving mother of Ash, which is who still lived with his mother and tried to probably be conventions. I mean, yeah, when you're basically young and have very conservative, you live in your parents' home, it's just like you just feel like you really don't have no less to basically go and go over your parents' home. But she's a very well kind of interesting character. She has virtually had very some elements virtually with the other characters, like for Ash's friends, Misty and Brock. And of course, in the third Pokemon movie, Pokemon 3, the movie, yeah, it's basically kind of weird. But anyway, in the movie itself, she actually originally premiered as a typical mother figure of this young girl who doesn't have her mother around or even have her father around. So, and that being said, the father who met Ash's mother was they were young and they were very well kind of just basically young kids and basically just having a good time. And she worries about the daughter's father, and she kind of has been possessed by none other than what's his Pokemon name? This was Entei, who is basically kind of like a pretty interesting Pokemon character herself, who possesses Ash's mother and tries to take her to the daughter herself. So it's pretty obvious that there's a little bit more characterism between the what I want to say, the character itself of Ash's mother. So there's really no point about the character itself. But for the other characters, I will get around to do it. Now, I want to get to Team Rocket. Now, Team Rocket's probably the worst group of Pokemon captures I ever met. And they're probably not really well written because Jesse, James, and Meow, they always get themselves caught. They always kind of screw things up. I mean, if you look at the episodes, they always seem like, okay, we're going to get that Pikachu one of these days. And then when they try to get the Pikachu, they just screw these up. And it's like, and Pikachu escapes very easily. I mean, it's like, that's the part of plot of what these characters are. Now, that being said, I don't want to say I don't have against about Team Rocket's mistakes. A lot of fans, well, basically I won't call millions of fans, but a lot of fans said that the reason why Team Rocket don't really compare themselves is that they're not really being as a great villainous. I mean, they're not really, they've been whole different villains before Team Rocket. They've been very well considered the platinum team. Other members of the Team Rocket. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, where's like Jesse, James, and Miguel wasn't trying to be more considerate of themselves. They were screwing things up from the very beginning. I mean, when you watch the second episode, Pokemon Emergency, you get to see the first time of seeing. You don't actually see their actual faces. You just see them in the basic shadow of their mouths and basically see a Pokemon that talks and actually really be able to talk very well. And they've been very wanted basically by the police academy, like the Officer Jenny's. And it's pretty wise. They've been very screwing things up. They're not very well equipped with different villains. I mean, they have tried to, do things good, but also go back to doing things bad. Because that's a part line of what makes them so bad villains, but also very well entertaining villains. I mean, they're always entertaining. I mean, when I was watching this series, and I was kind of curious, thinking, well, if Team Rocket do eventually get away from trying to capture, Ash's Pikachu, they probably might. But that being said, it's pretty wise that they just basically are so screwed up. I mean, every time when they use that line, looks like Team Rocket's blasting it up again. I mean, it's like, there was never really became a lot more serious. They never really became very well understandable or anything like that. I think they were very desperate to screw things over, and it just really kind of has a very interesting. But I do like the fact that they try to be more friendly towards the other characters. Like, for instance, like they were trying to, like, I think in one episode when they got lost in the forest with a bunch of Ursaring attacking them in that episode, and then they got their members separated. Like they have you have Jesse having having been lost virtually with Ash and Brock and Pikachu, and you have Misty going along with basically with James and Meow. So it's pretty obvious that both of them are kind of different paths. And when they get all together and go to this rope bridge that's about to be falling very easily, I mean that's how the danger and the hazards that in the episode they get involved to, because, but I'll get to that originally later in another episode. But you get to see them trying to work together and surviving from this hazard and this basically this danger and I think suspense moment, because they are basically holding on to each other and trying to learn how to survive with each other, so they don't get some kill or murdered or anything like that. But which basically they don't really show like that rich in the series. But you know what I mean. They always basically getting themselves in danger and trying to prevent themselves versus not to get involved in it. But for being recently, it's always been about versus the danger. It's always been about the excitement and adventure to see these characters of how versus elements, and especially for Ash. I mean, if he was going on his own alone, he had no chance of really taking this. But he does eventually try to have, his friends, give him support and knowing that he can do it. He can just do his best. That being said, it's pretty wise when you say that with you doing your best. It's pretty well kind of unsteady with the base of saying that. But it does give you a little bit of good confidence knowing that you can do it. You can basically accomplish all kind of obstacles. You just have to really learn them and try to be more understanding, because otherwise you're going to probably screw things over and your life is going to be taken away. But that being said, I don't really have a problem for what they try to do in the series. I think the only reason why that Team Rocket are so valuable versus they capture Pikachu is because they don't know how to, damn well they know how to basically capture him. I mean, how are they going to expect to really catch him this time? The next time it was basically catching him in a glass jar with protected electrical field so they don't get electrocuted. The next thing is basically they have, rubberized protection from Pikachu's electrical attacks. Next thing they're trying to basically do, catch him in cage and all that other stuff. I mean, it's like, they are so competitive characters, but they're also funny. So, it's like, do you want your villains to be funny and be screw up, or do you want your villains to be more smart? I mean, it's like, the show itself wasn't really temporarily to be more based on the game itself, or based on the comic. It was very well kind of just basically, hey, it's supposed to be a comedy for kids. It's supposed to be a feel kind of for children to watch. Like for instance, if they watch an episode which involves basically about sex, they're gonna have to talk with their parents. Plain straightforward. But that's not the reason I'm talking about. I'm talking about really you want your main villains to be more badass and be more cool and try to understand the catch of their goal. I mean, yeah. Villains today, they very well kind of lose when the heroes always basically save the day. I mean, I have no problem with the hero saves the day and just basically go on his other life mission. And then next episode, the villain will plot a plot of a trap for the hero to accomplish, and then the hero will escape eventually. I wouldn't say temporarily, but yeah, there have been episodes a lot which is basically for the hero get out of basically the situation of a trap or a deadly sin versus that knowing they're going to meet their doom or meet their deaths. But the hero always get out of the situation. Plain straightforward. And the villain itself, they don't even have a plan B. I mean, they do, but they just screwed that up as well. So it's kind of like, okay, well, we maybe not won this time, but we'll get you this time, Ash Ketchum. You know, just being all kind of like all badass and trying to they know they're not going to win anyway. So what's the problem? Basically, going to another job and get yourself a different kind of career, or get yourself another career for yourself. But that is maybe me saying. But like I say, I just think that it's pretty obvious that they never been coordination at all. I mean, they have, but they never really kind of like coordination on each other to try to say, this will work, can work. We have to really think our minds straight and try to focus and just get over it and go on to our lives. But you don't see that originally, basically, in the course of the cartoon. For other characters, Tracy, he's basically a Pokemon artist who grows very well considered Pokemon with the humans and the Pokemon's lifestyle. And he's very sketchy. What he does is basically he just sketch Pokemon and basically try to see how they move, how they basically react to the humans and everything. And there's really not much character about it. I mean, we have seen him originally in the Orange Island series, but it was never attempted originally to just say, hey, can we have, this character have his own story, have his own background story to really, get his words. But no, it's never been shown that way. I don't know, maybe that's just basically the entire plot, which is seeing the only character, Ash Ketchum, to be very well recognized. But, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that there haven't been much research about him at all. I mean, yeah, they have been pretty much emblems about him, about his background and everything, but he was just never been, very striking. He was never like, like Brock at all. I mean, Tracy was a very well good character. He was very well interesting, very well proper plancher, but still he wasn't really just properly fascinating. I mean, he wasn't really fascinating, basically, for a lot of viewers. And that's really the reason why he's only one for being in one this season, and that was the Orange Island series. So you can tell there's a lot of difference between the comic book and the cartoon itself, along with the game. So, like I said before, if you want to understand about the different elements between the different versions, I recommend go from both, because the reason why I say both, and the reason why I mentioned this, is that a lot of people really have focused on thinking it's based on religion. I mean, how can Pokemon can be a religion? I mean, it's never been about a religion that's saying the breath of the gods of heavens or the sentence of Satan or anything like that. No, it's never been about religion at all. A lot of, like some people think that this is very more towards. But I've been hearing a lot of things. I've been hearing some critics think that Pokemon is based on Power Rangers, and it's never been about how Pokemon is based on Power Rangers at all. Power Rangers is far different than basically Pokemon, because Power Rangers is more like all these martial arts training and all this stuff. That was all basically this martial arts stuff. It's never based on it. You don't see that in Pokemon. You don't see them going whoa, and stuff. No, you don't see that. You see them just basically having themselves. You see the Pokemon relate to other Pokemon, helping each other out, trying to make a living in their own universe, and just trying to be more friendly towards one another. But that being said, I think it's pretty obvious that the show itself, and pretty much really is basically connected to this, it's never been. I guess I didn't mention this about the Pokemon, about Pikachu and everything, but I will get doing that. But like I said before, if you're very interested in watching the cartoon, I recommend watching the cartoon, because it's pretty much entertaining, very funny, very well agile, basic for fans, and I don't think there's really no point by it. I really think there's no condition with what they're trying to do. Thinking. And let's see, what time did I got? Okay, I got enough time. I was just checking the time. I was just checking the time to be sure. But anyway, let's move on to about the Pokemon itself. Now, there have been a lot of Pokemon now. And before we started getting 600 now. I think it's probably like 650 now, if I'm counting right. But the only thing I find obvious, especially about the 150 Pokemon, is that it's far better version than basically than the newer ones, because the newer ones are just like, well, yeah, they're okay, they're very well, but no can really replace about the 150, because that was the prime time version that I knew that Pokemon was just getting a lot more better and a lot more interesting, especially with the JoJo Journey. We never expect that they actually continue making more Pokemon, and they probably will continue making more Pokemon long into the future, I have to say. but but what I feel about the series, when I feel about the Pokemon itself, well, for Pikachu, he's more very well interesting character. But I want to focus on Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Now, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander, they have been basically, have much more in common, because they are in different kinds of areas. So you have the water type, you have the fire type, you have the grass type, you have the electric type, you have the psychic type, which I already talked about. What else? So you have the colors type, which is basically just a regular Pokemon just using different kind of abilities, but also come with different kinds of more based when they get to their pre-movement evolved form, or whatever. But the whole point was about seeing these types, and I think there was, and also basically there was the metal and the, I think it was, metal. Yeah, also I forgot the fighting type. I didn't know why I was mentioning that, but I forgot the fighting type, the iron type, the steel type. What else? And the dark type. Yes, of course, the dark type. I mean, so you basically have those versions of both different types of Pokemon that have different kinds of abilities. Now, that being said, for Pikachu, let's start. Well, I should basically for Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, they were the three originals from the Kino region. So for the Kino region, it's far more really better, really, and it's far more interesting because you're starting off really with basically a different kind of gym battles, which is basically just 8 gym battles, really. But in the JoJo Journey itself, it's pretty well massive city. I mean, it's a massive world. I mean, I have never expected for the JoJo Journey running 3 seasons, and they go in different kinds of areas of location to location. I mean, if you look at the Orange Islands series, it's more just basically island to island. Plain story forward, just island on island. I mean, the Orange Island series. Okay, let's start with basically the Kino. The Kino region is basically spread out with 8 countries, right? And it's spread out region for 8 gym battles. So it's pretty obvious, that you're going to basically see 8 gym battles for different 8 locations, and that's pretty much straightforward. And there's really no point about to go for that. For Orange Island, it's basically spread out with basically different islands. You have Island 1, Island 2, Island 3, and Island 4. And when you go to the premise of Gym Battle Island, I mean Gym Tournament, the tournament of basically of the Orange Island, you basically continue to basically have yourself more consistent interest. It's because most of the time people think that, oh, the Orange Island is never connected with basically Kino or basically JoJo Journey. Well, it's actually based on the continuum of the Kino region, because they had to wait for another year when JoJo Journey was about to basically be, when JoJo was about to start really big competition. How can I say? They were almost getting started releasing the JoJo Journey, but they had to wait for another year or so after when they actually released 2 the Pokemon movies, the first one and the second. And I don't have the second movie with me, Richard, but the only thing, but you know what I mean. But the only thing I really find interesting about the JoJo Journey is that it's a very massive world. It's a very massive, simple half of half a base of the city for each locations, and it's a very well big and massive city. I mean, it's like you get to see each episode, because every episode when they basically produced, they were running spread out for 3 seasons. I mean, if you look at Master Quest, it's the with the continue of the JoJo journey. It's actually a continue of the JoJo religion, because that originally why I said originally called them Master Quest is because they continue up with the story and actually continue with more originally interesting locations, even if it makes it seem like it's actually really the same thing as Kino, but it's far different originally. It's a very big, massive world, and it's far more bigger originally because Kino is very little, small, temperate area, and doesn't have that much originally the base of the location, but it's pretty well nice originally to have a nice, but it's nice originally to see the map itself. But the JoJo Journey is a massive world. It is a massive, basically, area to basically for many people who have really played the game itself and actually really understand about the hardcore and silver versions, and this really just basically see what that is. So for the other religions, I haven't been keeping up with Pokemon that much. From the inner religion, I don't know how many religions are, but they just basically so many. But they're pretty much a little bit more smaller, a little bit more temperate than the other religions. But yeah, this really there's no point by it. I think that it's just really to stand out version for what it's worth. And for the Pokemon itself, they have been very well a lot of Pokemon now. And I have to say, for what I have seen and what I'm hearing, especially with the newer ones, I have to say I will go on based on the basic Pokemon that I grew up watching and actually understand about them. I mean, with the newer Pokemon in the Best of Dreams, or should I call it Black and White, is that it's very well contingent of it's very well not really great. I mean, the Pokemon, they do have great ability, but they're not great at all. I don't know. Maybe that's just me talking. Maybe that's just me saying. I don't know. I just think that they should probably do more conducive to just having their stuff more. But that being said, it's never been. So I think I ran about 30 minutes now. I think I'll probably end this one, but there's no any more parts of this, which I just want to basically just clear my thoughts in general about the different versions of basically of the comic book and the game, and also with the TV show itself, and along with the movies as well, which is because the movies itself are pretty much far different than it is, which is because the movies tend to be their own story, but they actually continue on based on each of the season continues up because originally if you have season 1, this is actually continuing on basis of the first movie, so it's actually continuing up based on the first season. Season 2, Orange Island, is actually the continuing on basis of the Orange Island of the movie based on the 3 legendary Pokemon, along with basically with this other legendary Pokemon, which I can't really pronounce the name of. And then in season 3, of basically the 3rd movie, was produced by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers have really thought Richard was doing very well movies for anime, and they start going on for Pokemon. And I have to say, for what I've really been thinking about how really the first movie was great. I mean, it was probably really, a lot of people think that, oh, okay, the first movie was a letdown. It was a letdown for a minute, but when I was watching it, I had no problem with seeing it. I think it was pretty well interesting, because there was the characters, and like, well, here's the thing about, I will explain that version. I'll explain that version when I basically talk about when I get all the DVDs and Blu-ray, all the DVDs of Pokemon. I could probably find originally and actually show it to you originally, because I wanted to basically talk about it, a little bit more about how you can basically pick up your own Pokemon stuff if you're a fan. But the only thing I like about the movie itself, the first movie, is pretty well kind of interesting, because you get to see the first edition of Mewtwo and Mew. I mean, that's something, a big opportunity that no one ever thought about versus seeing. And I don't know, I just think that it's pretty well interesting to me, and I don't think there's no point about it. So that really continues in this part of my Pokemon DVD evaluation video. Next up, we're going to basically show you the DVDs itself. They actually DVDs that I basically personally purchased or basically download and burn them on a single disc that I basically just want to got started. And yeah, just looking forward to hopefully this video give you some more senses about it. So I think I ran about end this version now and look for. Well, that ends up concludes of this part. There's really not much I can say about this about the franchise. It's just basically one of the franchise I grew up watching. I grew up as a kid in the 90s, and I don't see no purpose to what they tried to do, and I think that's the pretty obvious why, as they did. So look for part 3 of my Pokemon DVD animation videos. Until next time, this is Eric Brown. Thank you for watching, and sayonara. Welcome. Can't even speak right now. Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's continue on to part 2 of my DVD Pokemon. I just can't really do it. Alright. Let's focus here. Wow, 34 minutes. So let's basically end this to part 2. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Okay, let's for part 3 of my Pokemon DVD animation videos, and hopefully it'll probably be pretty interesting for you guys to really kind of watch it. That's not the thing I want to say. Okay, let's try this one last time.